There's no space in the world that is forged out for a woman unless she creates it for herself, where she is told how to create a life of her own. So when a woman begins to do that, she's going to be met with a lot of personal resistance simply because she's trying to break out of her own ideologies and what she was taught. Welcome to the Evolution of a Rose podcast, where we are obsessing over being and becoming our best and higher selves. I'm your host, Meline Rose, and if you're new here, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, especially if you enjoy and love intentional and growth-minded conversations. And of course, if you are a returning viewer, welcome back to the Evolution. Thank you so much for being here. Today, I would like to introduce a new series called Being Her. And before we do that, I want to talk about the truth of being her, because oftentimes being a soft woman, being a woman on her quote unquote glow up journey, it's often romanticized. However, we rarely take the time out to talk about what it takes. So let's do that today. Being her, what does that mean to me? Being her is a woman who has decided to live a life that is according to her principles, outside and beyond societal expectations. She lives a life for her, designed by her, created by her, with God at the center, and she has no regard for what people think. And that to me is a woman being her. That to me is a woman who has decided to live a life on her own terms. However, even in that, even in how sexy it sounds, a woman who is self-empowered, there's nothing sexy about it. There's nothing sexy about designing a life that is your own, because you'll meet a lot of resistance. And that takes a lot out of someone who is living in a world where there's rules for everything. A woman is supposed to do this. A woman is supposed to go to school and prepare for marriage. And that takes a lot out of a woman, especially when she is indoctrinated into a society that tells her who to be and how to be. There's no space in the world that is forged out for a woman unless she creates it for herself, where she is told how to create a life of her own. So when a woman begins to do that, she's going to be met with a lot of personal resistance simply because she's trying to break out of her own ideologies and what she was taught. Being her, there's a lot of self-development taking place, okay? There's a lot of things about yourself that you have to confront about yourself in order to rise up to be her. Whether that's procrastination. If you're someone who likes to procrastinate a lot, that's something that you're going to have to address, because when it comes to quote unquote being her or being a soft woman, you cannot procrastinate on things that you need to get done. You cannot procrastinate on going to the gym. You cannot procrastinate on eating healthy. You cannot procrastinate on learning and doing the things that it's going to take in order for you to grow. So there's going to be a lot of personal resistance happening. Another thing we don't talk about is how our relationships start to shift, especially if you've been in long-term friendships with someone and they know you as a particular person, but now you decide to be someone else. There's going to be some resistance there because they don't know this new person. And some people, many, aren't willing to get to know this new person because, in fact, if anything, the person that you're growing into, it holds up a mirror to them as to how they aren't growing or how they aren't evolving. So therefore, there's going to be some resistance there. There's going to be some tension there if they're not willing to meet you on that journey, but rather hold you back. And if you're someone who decides to continue to evolve despite their validation or permission, they just may resent you. Thus, there's going to be some sort of friction in the relationship. And what typically happens is you guys start to disconnect over time. So that's another thing people don't talk about, how personal relationships are also affected. I've even had my fair share of friendship breakups. I've had my fair share of having to distance myself from people I love, family members, namely. And honestly, that's not an easy process because it undoes everything that you know about yourself. It undoes your entire identity. If the goal is to grow, if the goal is to evolve, discomfort is a byproduct of that. Breakups is a byproduct of that. And in this series, Being Her, I just want viewers to understand that as glamorous as it is, as sexy as it may come off, a woman who is empowered to live a life that feels good to her, there's literally nothing sexy about it. There's nothing sexy about having to disconnect from people that you love. There's nothing sexy about having to sacrifice day in and day out to meet a life that is probably way out in the future. There's nothing sexy about having to be disciplined. There's nothing sexy about it. There's nothing sexy about the work. That's what I want to say. There's nothing sexy about the work. And being her requires work. Being a soft woman requires work. It's not all about the facials. It's about the therapy. It's about the gym sessions. It's about eating better. It's about truly honing in on the person that you want to be according to your rules and your standards. So yeah, to me, that's what being her is all about, and not discounting the work that goes behind it. So I want to challenge you to ask yourself, are you willing to do the work to become her? Are you willing to do the work to be her? After you've prayed, after you've read the books, after you have listened to the podcast, after you have sought out therapy and did all of that, you still have to do the work. So I challenge you to ask yourself, are you willing to do the work that it takes, the sacrifice, the discipline, and all of the unsexiness of it all? Which brings me to the new series that I'm super excited to introduce, because these are the things that we'll be talking about. We'll be talking about womanhood. We'll be talking about femininity. We'll be talking about identity. We'll be talking about self-trust. We'll be talking about all of the things that it takes to not only become her, but be her. Becoming her is actually happening in the present. So we're talking about being her. And I'm super excited because the conversation is going to get good. I hope you guys tuned in. If you aren't subscribed to our channel, please do so now and click on that notification bell so that way when we upload, you're the first one to be notified. Thank you again for joining the evolution, and see you on the next episode.